Welcome to Sound Bites. I'm your host, Holly Whitfield from the Daily Memphian. Today, I'm here with chefs Wally, Joe, and Andrew Adams from Acre Restaurant. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for being here. This week, I'm talking with Wally, Joe, and Andrew about recently being named James Beard Award semifinalist for Best Chef in the Southeast region. It's a nomination they share. And we're also going to talk about food, Chinese New Year, the James Beard House. But please know that Sound Bites is the Daily Memphian's food, drink, and dining podcast. Tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, etc., or you can listen in on thedailymemphian.com. If you're listening on WYXR right now, keep listening. After Sound Bites, you can hear the Sidebar podcast with Daily Memphian CEO Eric Barnes. Each week, he interviews a Mid-Southerner about arts and culture. He gets in deep. Sometimes there's just some surprising stuff that comes out of the conversations he has with folks on Sidebar. So keep listening. Thank you both for being here again.
We're excited.
It is a gray, rainy, muggy day, but we are in a space that I've always found warm and welcoming and nice. It's the Acre Restaurant, tucked away in this Hobbit house. And I mean that in the best way, in East Memphis. How's it going? What's going on?
Oh, that's great. Beautiful day. Thanks for having us.
You all recently finished what I'm hearing is probably your biggest event of the year here at the restaurant. Is that true? The Chinese New Year dinner.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
Well, most restaurants consider New Year's Eve, Valentine's, Mother's Day, whatever, their biggest night or day of the year. But for us, it started probably about 10 years ago, not long after, a couple of years after we opened. It's our Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year dinner. Mm-hmm. And it kind of fits. It's not really who we are as a restaurant. We're not a Chinese restaurant by any means, but because of who I am, Wally, mm-hmm.
being
Chinese, and I thought it was kind of appropriate and fun to do a dinner like this every year. Not strictly Chinese food, but Chinese flavors, Asian flavors, and incorporate it into our menu of what we normally do. So, and it's huge. It's grown into this monster. People fight to get reservations. People get mad because they don't get reservations, and people put it on their calendars 2 or 3 months in advance to call for reservations because we just don't start taking them early. So, and it's a madhouse a night of. It's a lot of work, like generally 2-3 weeks of prep ahead of time, and then but at the end of the night, it's big relief, and it's fun for everybody.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of food, too. It's,
yes.
This is a little different than our normal format or a normal tasting menu because it starts off big. We right off the bat, we're coming out with the longevity noodles and baskets full of dumplings and wontons, and that's just the
I'm
first
sold
course.
already. Baskets of dumplings. You had me.
Yeah. People love those.
Yeah.
And they're not your typical dumplings. We eat I'm sure everybody goes to dim sum, and they're familiar with the sumai, which is a staple, mm-hmm. but we put a little twist to it and make it a little high end. So we put a little nugget of foie gras in it.
Of course.
It makes it that much better.
Yeah, and right into the next course with soup and truffles. So, and it keeps going from there. I think one of the hardest parts for us every year is to figure out what we're going to do for dessert, and using Chinese flavors. But I think we found our best place is to use techniques from around the world while using the flavors of China and other Asian countries. So,
what did you choose for your dessert course this year?
This year we did an opera cake. So we did a French opera cake.
Ooh.
We took the French buttercream out and did a black sesame buttercream. And then we made a jasmine chocolate ganache to go on top, and then finished it with a soy sauce caramel. So it had that umami, soy, sweet, salty thing going on with this. Would have been a French dessert if we hadn't changed a few ingredients here and there.
But that is what you do best, for sure. I have loved every meal I've had here. I've had friends have their rehearsal dinners at Acre, and they've all been, right out of the park. So I'm going to be one of those people in the fight to get a reservation for the Chinese New Year dinner.
We'd love to have you.
Next year. Before I keep going, I want to remind listeners, this is the second part in our series about Memphis area James Beard Award nominees. These Soundbites episodes are companion pieces to our online story series at dailymemphian.com. Our food writer, Jennifer Chandler, has already sat down with Wally and Andrew and our other James Beard semifinalists and talked to them. So be sure you read those. We'll link them in the story and in the show notes. In those pieces and in the piece especially about Acre, Jennifer Chandler talks about how the two of you met, how your paths crossed, your backgrounds, while you experienced in Mississippi, and how you eventually opened Acre in 2011. I'll get back to Acre in a minute, but I wanted to talk about the James Beard Award. How did this nomination process go? Did you all submit yourselves, or how did this unfold for the 2025 awards?
You can nominate yourself, but we haven't thought about it in a number of years. We actually just haven't been really involved. We were really involved back in the late 90s and early 2000s, but I don't know who nominated us. Really, it came as a shock because, again, we just haven't really thought about it. But I don't know what the process is. We were told that you have to meet, it's a numbers game in the early process. Somebody nominates you, and there's a threshold of votes, number of votes that you have to meet to get to this point, the semifinals.
Yeah, we were very grateful, and it's very exciting. As a matter of fact, I think it was Jennifer Chandler from the Daily Memphian who texted me to let me know.
That's funny.
I think she assumed I already knew, but I found out that morning, and I was like, oh,
yeah. I think even Andrew knew before I did. My phone was blowing up. People were sending me texts. Other chef friends from around the country. Dude, congratulations. I said, what? I don't even know what's going on.
When we were talking last week with 17 Berkshire Bakery owner Duha, she was telling us the same thing. She didn't know who nominated her bakery either. She had meant to nominate herself when she found out that was an option. Just why not? You're putting in all this work. Throw your name in the hat. But she didn't know either. So here's my second plea. You nice nominators, let us know who you are, or not. It's fine. But we're all curious. But I love that it's a pleasant surprise and something like,
I guess it's a reminder, to always hold your standards high, and maybe that's part of the nomination process. I'm assuming someone who's eaten here and enjoyed it.
Yeah,
so that's good
for sure. What do you know about any criteria judging? She was telling us that maybe there's a secret shopper type of person that will be coming soon. Do you know anything about what happens next?
No, Andrew actually told me something about that because he read in the guidelines that they will be sending someone.
It's called a taster. So
okay.
And we'll have we'll have a round of a taster coming by between now and April 2nd when they announce the next round. And then if we go to the next level, next phase, there'll be another taster that comes by.
So it's somebody anonymous. So it's going to keep us on our toes.
That's kind of old school, anonymous reviewer, taster coming in. People don't really seem to do that anymore.
Like the old reviewers.
Yeah, and food media.
Well, everybody knows who the local writers are and the local critics, and even in a big city like New York, they talk about. They knew who Pete Wells was for the New York Times and Sam Sifton and all. So nobody's really anonymous anymore. So, but as we understand it, this is going to be truly anonymous.
Yeah.
I'm going to also put on my list to figure out how to be a taster.
Yes.
That would be a really fun job.
That does sound great.
So tell me, I know that you've both had experiences with the James Beard House in the past. This question for either or both of you. Tell me about those. It's the home in New York City. It's kind of a little mecca for the
really
country culinary scene.
Yeah, every serious chef that aspires to do good things in this field, they aspire to cook at the James Beard House. In 1994, I was actually at a dinner at Emerald's in New Orleans where he was doing a Friends of James Beard dinner, and every great chef at the time was there. I was invited by Charlie Trotter, who he's passed now, but he was one of the great icons of the 20th century, and I consider him someone that kind of mentored me.
Yeah,
I never really had any formal training,
Sure.
or went to culinary school. I grew up with the business, but he kind of took me along. He invited me to come down there because we were doing a dinner. Well, I was at a dinner here in Memphis that he was doing with Raji Jolly probably at the time. So he said, hey, we're doing this dinner in New Orleans. Why don't you come? I would love for you to be my guest. So I went, and anyway, I was introduced to Peter Kump. He was the founder of the James Beard House in New York. And Mildred Amico, who kind of became my guardian angel, we can talk about this later. She was the program director at the James Beard House. So we met, we got to talking, and she said, I want to know more about you. When you're in New York, come by and see me, and I want to know more about what you're doing in Mississippi because it's very intriguing. So just so happened we planned a trip to New York that summer, stopped by the Beard House, and she showed me around, and she said, I want you to come cook. Let's set a date.
Yes.
And we did, and I was the first chef from Mississippi to be invited to cook the James Beard House, 1994, a long time ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did the dinner go?
It was a hit. There was a critic from a food writer from London that was there. He wrote a big thing about me, and somebody from USA Today. From there, it just kind of snowballed.
Right.
For a little guy from small town Mississippi, it was just amazing.
You love to hear it. It's a great story.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful house. It's a cool place.
It was.
It
was very challenging to cook in, though. The kitchen was.
It was his kitchen.
Yeah, it was a home
personal kitchen.
Yeah, it didn't have much it didn't have much commercial equipment in there. You really had to plan a menu to be able to cook for 80 people. I think at the time. I don't think it's grown much, but 80 people, 3 floors, and you had to plan a menu. It was just challenging, but we made it work.
And Andrew, you've had some experience
there
as well.
I started off. I think Wally took me to cook at the Beard House. I was around 17, I think, at the time. I'm not sure exactly when that was. And this was, I think, he was maybe Wally's second time up there to cook. And that was my first trip to New York City. It's my first time cooking the James Beard House. It's a lot of firsts.
Yeah, just dive right in the deep end.
Just dive right in, yeah. And immediately, met all of the chefs. I mean, the iconic restaurants, and it was amazing. And we went back a couple of times together. I think we did a barbecue dinner there one time where we did food that complemented barbecue food while we had a barbecue team from Mississippi actually cooking.
That's a great
with
idea.
A smoker right outside. Yeah. And it was kind of a fun mix of both the cuisine that we were doing at the time in Mississippi and the smoky barbecue. I don't remember the year. And then I think Wally and I went back together and cooked multiple dinners, and at least 2 or 3 after that. I went once without Wally. I was working for a chef named Craig Shelton in White House, New Jersey at the Ryland Inn, and he had won Best Chef, I think, Northeast the year before, and it's a tradition after you win, you go and cook a big dinner at the Beard House. And that was a whole different experience because not only was I going with a different chef and different fans and followers, but we loaded the entire kitchen's equipment into U-Hauls, 2 U-Hauls, and then a few other vehicles. We took every copper pan. I mean, it was wild. And we worked on it for 4 days, took way too many cooks, and created this incredible meal. That was fun to be a part of. Also, a lot of those chefs have gone off to do great restaurants around the world.
Okay, I'm going to come back home to Memphis, to Acre, opened in 2011?
2011.
Is that right? So this is a place that has real staying power. I mean, we've talked recently on Soundbites. I encourage you to go back and listen to all of our episodes, but certainly like in 2025, our episodes, everybody that we're talking with, I'm trying to get into this idea about Memphis, the Memphis restaurant scene. And there's this narrative that everywhere is closing, lots of places that we have been around for a long time close, but that doesn't necessarily mean that something bad is happening to the Memphis dining scene.
Right.
Because there's a lot of wonderful things happening as well, and that's part of what this James Beard nominee series is about. All of that to say, why do you think that Acre has staying power in Memphis? Big question.
Well,
brag on yourself.
Yeah. Let me take this first. I think for the most part is because we're very dedicated. We care. We're here all the time. We're here every night.
Right.
And I don't know about other chef owners, but Andrew and I are here every night unless we're closed or we're out of town or something. But we are hands-on, and we make sure every plate that goes out, it crosses our eyes, our hands. I don't want to sound arrogant or whatever, but I think we care more than other people do.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're here.
I'll add to that. I think, and this is probably not what you're thinking I'm going to say, but I think I have a healthy fear of the business. I mean, I love it. I'm very confident of what
you could say respect. Respect for the business.
Respect, but absolutely fear as well. I'll walk into every shift is like, going through every, corner. How are we going to do this, and that? And I know how to do it. I mean, I've been doing it for decades, but I really, really, really want our guests to walk out very happy every night.
Yeah, we put a personal touch on it. We know all our regulars that's been coming here for years. And in many, many cases, these are regulars that have been following us since our first restaurant on Sanderland. Mm-hmm. I mean, so they've been dining with us for 20 years. So we know all of them. We've seen their kids grow up to be married and have their own kids.
Right.
So it's a personal thing for us.
Yeah. It's very much like when people talk about local dining, like I think this is a great example of really what that phrase means and all it encompasses. It can mean a lot of different things, but
we develop personal relationships.
As you kind of just said, you're both established. You've both received accolades. You've been featured at Memphis Food and Wine Fest, one of my favorite Memphis events that I hope comes back full force soon. But
we do too.
Yes. Well, okay. Since I said that, I'm going to come back to this question about what would the James Beard Award Best Chef Southeast Award mean to you. But I want to talk about that dish. You know what I'm talking about, the potato, the caviar that you made at Memphis Food and Wine Fest that I've talked to you about before. That was just an incredible dish that you served there as a sample. It was like a little crispy 24-hour potato thing with it was a creme fraiche with caviar and something else. And it was so memorable and so good. And mentioned earlier, my friend that had her rehearsal dinner here, I think y'all made that bite again for her and her party because it was so memorable. Tell me about that. Where did that come from?
When you go have a steak tartare and you get that warm or hot potato with that raw meat, and it's kind of the cold and hot and the rich and the lean, and then of course the creme fraiche comes in and kind of freshens lightens it up. There's no reason why the tuna couldn't work with that. And while we're adding tuna, let's go ahead and do caviar too, because caviar and fried potato is just delicious. Yes. So no, that potato part of it, the potato pave, is about out of dozens of layers of very thin sliced potato. And every time we go up, we add a little bit more clarified butter, and then we bake it in the oven and it's almost like a poach or a fry. And it separates each layer almost like a croissant to me. And then once we pull that out, we press it, let it refrigerate overnight, and then cut it into those little rectangle pieces and then fry it. And that's the base.
Yes.
And then everything else just kind of just helps. I mean, the caviar could stand on its own, but we had a few other ingredients that helped it through. Since
we're on this track, tell me, is there another really memorable dish that you've made recently, or something like first thing that comes to your mind, like something like that you kind of put all the components together and it made the perfect bite?
We have
we do that every day.
Yeah, we play around with a lot of different ideas, and some things they work like that, but then there's other things that bomb.
Very much, yeah.
Oh, tell us about those.
Well, two parts. So the bombing part, and I don't know if I can. I'd have to pull this out of my head, because I could block the things that I don't like. But I say this back in the kitchen. We'll work on 100 ideas for many months, and we're going to take one of them. Yes. We're gonna, but out of that one's going to come from 10 that we tried. Yeah. And then there's the components. You start off with an ingredient. This last summer, I remember I've used this one. Last summer we do a lot of a little bit of fermentation here and there, and we just had some fresh heirlooms and we were fermenting them. And I had this idea that we're going to take the pulp and we're going to make a little cheese tartlet and it was going to be great, and it was. I mean, that dish would have stood up on its own. but it was the tomato water that came out that was like, just had this nice, it took away the sweetness, turned into more of fruity acid. And then I was like, well, this needs to go into a sauce, and just happened to have some smoked almonds. And before you knew it, we had this emulsification of almonds and a little bit of dairy and, a little bit of brown butter and the smoked almonds and then the fermented tomatoes. And I took a bite out of that, when I tasted that on a spoon, all of a sudden, just every single flavor, just, from umami to sour to rich, it just burst. It was like that first time you put a piece of fish into soy sauce, you're like, wow, that made that so much more interesting. But even more so than that. And so we put that with a bass, and I was like, this, forget the fish, forget everything else in the dish. That sauce was it. If I could make that into a drink, that wouldn't be good. But if I could, it'd be great. So that's my long way of saying is, I don't know. It's hard for me to say like I love that dish. The dish is fine. It's good. I'm happy it's on there. But it's the sauce, but it's the makings of that sauce that were so much more fun and interesting. And a lot of our guests, come in and try and like, let's say the same thing. Like, that was a great sauce. And so I don't, to answer your question, I don't know that I have a dish that I love. I think there's all these little bites that are more fun for me, and that I get excited about it. So it's years ago we had we were sprouting some rye, and I was doing it. I don't remember why it started, but I had this idea that we were going to add some Parmesan and make almost like a pan butter sauce real quick with this rye, and it didn't work. But at the end of the day, we took a bite out of that now cheesy rye that almost burst like a gusher. This little sweet malted flavor. And I was like, this is good. Like, this is great. That component we put with a smoked pork brisket, and we kept it on the menu for a couple of years because it was absolutely going to be something else, but it ended up being a great accent to a great dish. And I think that's how most of our food comes around, is accidents. Just trying and trying and trying. Like I say, we're starting off
creative
with
process.
100 ideas, and it ends up with one. That's sometimes when we can't get the menu changed, I want to say out real loud, I was like, no, I promise you, there's 100 ideas. They're just not working.
Yes, we'll get there.
We're going to get there. That one component's going to make it.
Okay, so back to the question I previewed. Let's say the two of you, Acre wins Best Chef or is named finalist. What would that mean to you? What would that change? What happens when you get an award like that?
For me, I grew up in the business, and you're in a small town in a restaurant. You don't really aspire to those type of things, but as you get exposed to different restaurants and other great chefs around the country, and you think, well, I would like to be at that level too, because and the more attention, the more accolades that we received at KC's, the more I thought, well, we could be at that level. We're just kind of handicapped by our geography.
Sure.
Yeah, and we're in a small town in the middle of nowhere. We're not in New York. We're not in Chicago. We're not even in Memphis. So, but it didn't stop us from going for it. It didn't stop us from doing what we wanted to do and to reach those heights. So after more than 30 years, probably 40 now, of doing what I'm doing, it would just be like the accolade that it would just top everything. Yeah. It would be the highlight of my career, and to do it all with Andrew, it would just make it that much sweeter, because we started together a long time ago, and we worked together for so long. It doesn't matter to me if it's just me, but to do it with him, it's just that much sweeter.
Very special. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is the excitement of this what we're just going through right now, and if we could go further, that would be just incredible. The changes is like, obviously it's a little bit more to make us go to the next phase, or the next 10 years, the next 5 years even, and I think it's also exciting and watching the guys in the kitchen. They're excited about this.
Yeah,
and
they are.
And as I watch them go to their next places, which they ultimately will, keep moving and growing, someone else is going to come by, and maybe this is going to bring the next person in to work with us and be a part of the family, and take us to the next level. And not talking about the guys in the kitchen, of course, they did this too.
Yes.
Wally and my name, we're on the.
Yeah, we didn't do this ourselves. We had to have a team and have support.
And many teams from the past. So all of those guys that were a part of the team for the last 12 years here at Acre, 13, wherever old we are, and then all of the teams we've had at the other restaurants that we've been a part of, they all get to share this, and that's big. That's huge. And some cook who's worked with us 10 years ago, who's going to work at the next place, and he has on his resume, he gets to add that to his resume because he did that, or she did that, and that, I think that's pretty cool. And of course I'm really excited about seeing new people in the dining room and meeting them and having new regulars. So that's what I see with this
Right.
These next few parts of this award.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that worked for us in the past, and super proud of the ones that went on and did their own things. I mean, guys, a couple of local guys that went on, opened their own places, became executive chefs and head chefs at restaurants they're working at now. So it's all because, they worked with us, and we're super proud that they went on and did good things on their own.
Well, I know that Memphis and Mid-South is definitely rooting for all of our semifinalists for these awards. They're pretty cool. Let's do what I like to do and just have some quick, fun questions here, because I really want to know, where do y'all eat out when you go out to eat, if you go out to eat? What are a couple of your favorite places? Or if that's too hard, like, what are some places you went recently, enjoyed your meal?
There's no way to say all of our favorite places.
Sure, just a sample.
That's impossible. And there's so many great restaurants from the past and current. One of the old ones going back that I've just always loved. I haven't been in too long. I need to go back. Was Abyssinia. I love Ethiopian food.
Abyssinia, yes.
Yeah, Abyssinia. I love that place. I love every bit about that. New places. I mean, I'm not much of I don't go out for a cheeseburger much, but Evergreen Tavern's cheeseburger is incredible. So I dream about that. I've been there a few times. I'm excited about Hard Times Deli.
Yes.
I love Kinfolk. Love Sunrise. I'm a breakfast guy. I can keep going on.
I really haven't gone out a whole lot recently, but
sure.
I did go to a place in Cordova for a Vietnamese place, Lee's Delight, recently, and had lunch there, and it was really good. I love their vermicelli. Dim sum, I've been to Dim Sum King when my kids were home for the holidays, and that's always good.
Yes.
So places like that, I don't really go out to.
So are you cooking at home, or are you done with that?
I get 2 nights a week off, and generally, so my kids are gone now. I'll graduate from college. One's married, so I don't cook much at home anymore. So usually it's like a pizza takeout.
That sounds good, though. Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah, something like that on a Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
I like to cook at home. I think most Sundays and Mondays we're cooking together, my wife and I, or I'm cooking. Simple food, though. I mean, it's not restaurant food. It's braised chicken thighs.
Yes.
Or every now and then, I would say this years ago, and I still say the same. I still like to open up those cooking magazines and cook out of them, I did when I was 12. And it's like, I can't help it. I have to change it up, but yes,
you need a starting point.
But if I'm cooking at home, I like doing that. It's fun. And, so we do that a lot. So we cook most nights. We're off. Another
thing we've been talking about on Soundbites recently is whenever you travel, I'm guessing you've got to eat at the best places or good places. Yes. You got your bucket list. How do you find?
We can make a whole episode on this.
I live for that.
Maybe we will. But in the meantime, we just got a couple more minutes.
Sure.
Do you find those places? You just know everybody.
Yeah. All right. So because I'll give you my part. There's definitely a few if it depends on if I'm going to Europe, if I'm going to Asia, or wherever I'm going in America. But there's a few influencers that I might follow. These are the guys that are going around the European cities and eating. I'm going to look at Eater from the city if they have it, and usually they do. I'm going to look at Michelin. I'm probably not going to look for the 3-star Michelin restaurants, but I'm going to look through them. I'm going to compare them. I'm going to look at Relais Chateau, and I am going to look at San Pellegrino. And I'm not going to necessarily pick from that. Then I'm going to just do random Google searches. So as I start seeing places over and over again and watching these guys, I'm going to start following these social media accounts. And this is many months leading up to showing up to these places. So I think I went to Madrid this summer, and I was following all of these people who were actually eating in Madrid. I was looking at all these restaurants, and I had I think it was a 10-page Google Doc
Amazing.
on eating in Madrid. And I had the same thing when I was in Porto, Portugal, or Madeira, and and on and on and on and on in Tokyo, you name it. And this is fun to me. I over-research these restaurants before we go.
I'm with Andrew. So a lot of what he does, I do too. But
you're just like, thanks for the list.
But I also ask for recommendations from my chef friends from around the country where they've been recently, and like for instance, I've been to France and Italy the last couple of years, but I go to places that I've always heard about and always wanted to go to. I'm going back to France next month, and these two restaurants I've been wanting to go to since college. Like Taiwan and Tour de Jaunt. These are classics and old school places, but they're still phenomenal restaurants and places that I've always dreamed of going to.
Yeah, you have to balance. To me, you have to balance some of the classic restaurants, the ones that have been there for forever. And then there's the new ones, the modern ones. But you have to be for me, I have to get immersed in the culture of the place I'm going. So it's like my wife and I, the first thing we do when we land on a cross is we do a walking tour. We're going to see the city. We're going to get our bearings. I've already looked at the map 100 times. And then we're going to start going into a casual restaurant the first night, of course, and then we start hitting all the big places the following week. And we've got, I like to have coffee shops, breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of lined up. But I've learned my lesson: don't overbook, but have them ready.
Have them ready. Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, look, this is sounding like you've got some real good content that people might want to have themselves. Well, thank you both so much for taking time out of your busy morning to talk about yourselves, your work, Acre, James Beard Award, and Memphis dining scene. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That is all the time we have. So don't forget that you can tune in to Sound Bites on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11. Listen wherever you get your podcasts on your magical internet phone, or you can listen right on dailymemphian.com. Thank you again, Andrew and Wally. See y'all next time.